Dear learners, now we are in section D. In our last section, we discussed three possible situations that a perfectly competitive firm can face at equilibrium in the short run. Supernormal profit situation, normal profit situation, and the situation of loss. Now the question arises is, does a perfectly competitive firm produce facing loss in the short run? This section will give you the answer. Whether a perfectly competitive firm produces facing loss in the short run or not depends on whether price covers average variable cost or not. So we have to answer the question, does price cover average variable cost in the short run? If the answer to this question is yes, the firm should produce. Why? Short run is the time period in which firm needs to bear both fixed cost and variable cost. Now, if the price covers average variable cost, that is, if price is greater than average variable cost, it means price is greater than per unit variable cost. So, if the firm produce, it will be able to cover a portion of its per unit fixed cost, which will reduce the burden of loss. But if it doesn't produce, it has to bear the entire fixed cost, which will increase its burden of loss. So it will be wise for the firm to continue its production. On the other hand, if price falls short of average variable cost, that is price is less than average variable cost, firm shouldn't produce. Why? When price is less than average variable cost, it means price doesn't cover per unit variable cost of production. So if the firm produce, it has to bear the entire fixed cost of production. Besides, as price doesn't cover average variable cost, the firm has to bear a portion of variable cost as well, which will increase the loss to the firm. But if the firm doesn't produce, it has to bear the fixed cost only as loss. So it will be wise for the firm not to produce. To understand the production decision of a perfectly competitive firm in the short run facing loss, let us consider a table. The table illustrates three possible situations, and all the situations are representing loss. As for all the cases, price is less than average cost, which is the condition for loss. Let us consider the first situation, in which price is $8, average cost is $10, average fixed cost is $3, and average variable cost is $7. Since price is less than average cost, firm faces loss. Again, price, which is $8, is less than the average variable cost, which is $7. So if the firm produce, the firm would have $1 in hand to pay for its fixed input. Thus, if the firm produces, loss will be $2. But if the firm doesn't produce, loss will be the entire average fixed cost, that is $3. Since loss increases if the firm doesn't produce, it will be better to produce for the firm. And hence, the condition for production facing loss is clearly when price is greater than average variable cost. For the case of situation 2, price equals average variable cost, which is $7. And as a result, if the firm produce, it will cover the per unit variable cost only. Average fixed cost, which is $3, will be left uncovered. So loss will be the same whether the firm produces or not. Such a situation is called closing down or shutdown situation, condition for which is price equals average variable cost. If price falls below the shutdown situation, as in the case of situation 3, where price is $6, which is less than the average variable cost $7, firm will not produce, as it will increase its loss. For situation 3, if the firm produces, loss will be $4. That is the gap between price and average cost, where $3 is average fixed cost and $1 is the part of average variable cost that the price doesn't cover. But if the firm doesn't produce, loss will be $3. That is the average fixed cost. So it will be better for the firm not to produce. Therefore, firm will leave the industry if price is less than average variable cost. Let us summarize all these three situations once again. Average fixed cost is the cost for per unit production that the firm undertakes, whether it produces or not in the short run. Therefore, average fixed cost shows the loss in the short run if the firm doesn't produce. On the other hand, the difference between price and average cost, particularly when price is less than average cost, measures the loss of firm when it produces. Now, if the loss when the firm produces is less than the loss when the firm doesn't produce, the firm will continue its production facing loss. Alternatively, when the gap between price and average cost is less than the average fixed cost, the firm will continue its production. For situation 1, the gap between price and average cost is less than average fixed cost. As a result, firm continues its production. For situation 2, the gap between price and average cost is exactly the same as average fixed cost. In this case, there is no change in loss whether the firm produces or not. Such a situation is called closing down or shutdown situation. And finally, when the gap between price and average cost is greater than average fixed cost, it means if the firm produces, loss will increase. So the firm will shut down its production. In our next few videos, we shall explain each of the situations using figure.